Yeah, now we're in fact joined now by Mr Kennett from Melbourne. Mr Kennett, good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael.
You've sat through, as I said, more than a few of these meetings as Premier. Why do you think they don't really achieve much?
There are occasions on which they do, and I think COAG has a very real purpose if properly constructed and led. But what's happened over the last few years, COAG has become a gaggle of committees that report into COAG. So today the leaders will be meeting from 9 o'clock till lunch. Rarely do they go after lunch. And in that time they're going to receive a lot of reports. There's no debate, there may be discussion, but there is no single focus on where we want to take Australia over the next 20, 25 years. And therefore the Commonwealth dictates the terms of the discussion. The states can contribute, but everything has been well decided by this morning. So COAG has lost its national focus in terms of the requirement that I think most people would like to see, both of the meeting and of our national leaders.
And you've also made the point it doesn't help matters by having the meeting on a Friday of all days.
Yes, well, it always concerned me, and this has been happening for years, but you go up to Canberra on the Thursday, you have a dinner with the Prime Minister Thursday night, you then meet Friday morning, and then everyone wants to get out of Canberra, which is understandable, I suppose. But if COAG's going to work constructively in the long-term interests of the community, we'd be better having it on 2 days. It is better restricting the meeting to the leaders and the heads of their departments, rather than this increasing gaggle of committees that they set up to report back to COAG, and meet for 2 days, have genuine discussion, because there are many things on the national agenda that requires attention to keep us competitive and, importantly, to look after the interests of the community as a whole, and that simply does not happen.
If, for argument's sake, Jeff Kennett, you were chairing this meeting today, what would you put on the very top of the agenda?
Well, I think for me right now, given the challenges that face Australia, what I would like to see is COAG address the functions of each tier of government. I think we're still going to be locked with 3 tiers of government for the next 50 years. If that's the case, let's have a look at the functions that each tier is going to be responsible for. And if you're able to properly identify that, that would eliminate a great deal of overlap, a great deal of waste, and it would give governments a focus in such a way that the community, be it the commercial community or whether it's the community as a whole, could actually come to grips with the way in which government is going to administer them. So to me, it's not so much about the economy, it's about how government operates to provide certainty for both the commercial sector and the community as a whole. And of course the functions of government won't even be discussed. They will discuss the National Disability Scheme, but there's no detail. So why discuss it if the Commonwealth hasn't got a position to put forward? There will be some discussion on the carbon tax, but the government's not going to withdraw from that position in the short term. So fundamentally, it's an expression of views rather than leading to any action. Competitiveness in terms of productivity, the meeting yesterday took place. I guarantee you there will be no simplified outcome as to how increased productivity is going to be achieved. So to me, all of this is a showpiece without any constructive outcome. You asked me the question, I would like to see the heads of government review the actual functions of government themselves to make government smaller, to make it more focused and therefore make it more effective.
Whether it's 1 day or 2 or 3 or more days, Jeff Kennett, still you're going to have that inbuilt conflict built into our so-called cooperative federalism, especially now with the premiers of Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria, the biggest states, at odds politically with the sitting Prime Minister.
Michael, I don't necessarily agree with that, with due respect. I remember attending meetings with Paul Keating, who was not of my political persuasion, and there were other Conservative leaders there. We had some wonderful discussions on competition policy. I remember having the meetings under John Howard's leadership and Peter Costello, where we had robust discussions about the introduction of the GST, but we all came to agreement. So there are ways in which, through good leadership of these meetings, you can have very positive outcomes. And the political leaders, with due respect, although they represent a territory or a state, they are men and women of goodwill. And if the construct of the meeting is well prepared, and if the leadership of the actual forum is clear, then I think you can get good outcomes. And I have to believe we're going to have good outcomes in the future. But it does require these meetings to be reduced from a gaggle of varying interests back to one or two, and genuine discussion between the political leaders and their bureaucracies in order to deliver outcomes. And that's certainly not going to happen today.
Jeff Kennett, always interesting talking to you. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you. You have a great day.